The Pentagon cafeteria buzzed with its usual lunch chaos: officers in dress uniforms, civilian contractors, administrative staff all flowing through the food lines. Lieutenant Jake Morrison grabbed his tray and scanned for a seat, his Navy SEAL trident gleaming on his chest. He spotted an empty chair at a table where a young woman sat alone, wearing simple khakis and a plain polo shirt. She looked maybe 30, reading something on her tablet while eating a salad. Civilian contractor, he assumed. Pretty, but seemingly oblivious to the military hierarchy surrounding her. "Mind if I sit?" Jake asked, already pulling out the chair. She glanced up, gave a small nod, and returned to her tablet. Jake settled in, and his buddy Marcus joined them. They started talking shop, loud enough to be noticed, which was the point. SEALs didn't exactly hide their presence. "So there I am, 40 feet underwater," Jake was saying. And the lieutenant, not me, different guy, completely panics, forgets every bit of training. The woman continued reading, apparently uninterested. Jake leaned toward her with his most charming smile. "I'm boring you with military talk, sorry about that. You probably don't understand all the rank stuff anyway." She looked up, eyebrow slightly raised. I'm a lieutenant," Jake continued, gesturing to his insignia. "03. Took me 8 years and butt-ass training to get here. Pretty proud of it, actually." He was showing off now, unable to help himself. "What do you do? Accounting? IT?" "Something like that," she said mildly. Marcus kicked Jake under the table, a warning he ignored. "You know what, let me guess your rank," Jake said, grinning. "Since you're clearly military with that bearing. I'd say E4? Specialist? You've got that support staff vibe." The woman's expression didn't change. "That's your guess? Wait, I'm wrong? E5 maybe? Sergeant?" Jake laughed. "Come on, help me out here. What's your rank?" She set down her fork carefully. "Do you really want to know?" "Sure, I'm curious now." Before she could answer, the cafeteria atmosphere changed. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. People stood abruptly. Jake turned to see what caused the disruption. 4 generals had entered, 2 Army, 1 Marine, 1 Air Force. Each wore enough stars and ribbons to blind someone. They were clearly heading somewhere important, walking with purpose. Then they saw the woman at Jake's table. All 4 changed direction immediately. Jake watched in confusion as the most senior military officers in the building approached their table. The Marine general, 3 stars, reached them first. "Admiral," he said, coming to attention, "we didn't know you were in the building." "Admiral?" The woman stood, and suddenly her posture was different, command presence radiating from her like heat. "At ease, General, just grabbing lunch before my 2 o'clock. All 4 generals saluted. She returned it crisply. Jake's face went white as he processed what was happening. He looked at her collar, no insignia, then at her polo shirt, and spotted it. Embroidered so small he'd missed it. 4 stars. 4 stars. Admiral Rebecca Chen, Chief of Naval Operations, the highest-ranking officer in the entire U.S. Navy. And he'd just asked her rank as a joke. "Admiral Chen," the Army general said, "we were hoping to catch you before the Joint Chiefs meeting. Have you reviewed the Pacific deployment proposal?" "I have. We'll discuss it at 2. Her voice carried absolute authority. Then she glanced at Jake, who was frozen in his seat, unable to breathe. "Gentlemen, have you met Lieutenant Morrison? We were just having an interesting conversation about rank structure." The Marine general looked at Jake with something between pity and amusement. "Lieutenant." "So, sirs, ma'am, Admiral, Jake stammered. Lieutenant Morrison was explaining how proud he is of his 03 rank. Admiral Chen continued, her tone perfectly neutral. 8 years and butt-ass training. Quite an accomplishment. "It is," she agreed. "SEAL training is no joke. You should be proud, Lieutenant." "Thank you, ma'am, Admiral. I'm so sorry. I didn't recognize me without the uniform and fanfare?" She smiled slightly. "That's the point. I learned early that wearing 4 stars everywhere means people tell you what they think you want to hear. Sometimes you learn more in khakis and a polo shirt. I was completely out of line. You were arrogant and presumptuous," she corrected, "but also young and foolish, which is forgivable once. What did you learn?" Jake swallowed hard, aware that 4 generals and half the cafeteria were watching. "That rank isn't always visible, ma'am. that I should treat everyone with respect, regardless of how they're dressed or what I assume about them. Good start. What else? That I don't know as much as I think I do? Better. Admiral Chen picked up her tray. Lieutenant, you're a SEAL. That means you're trained to observe, to gather intelligence, to question assumptions. But today you saw a woman in civilian clothes and assumed she was nobody important. What does that tell you about your biases? Jake's face burned. That I have work to do, Admiral. We all do. She turned to the generals. Gentlemen, shall we? Then back to Jake. Lieutenant Morrison, I'll be visiting your team next month for the counter-terrorism brief. I expect better observation skills by then. Yes, ma'am, absolutely, Admiral. She walked away, 4 generals falling into step beside her, leaving a stunned silence in her wake. Marcus finally spoke. Dude, you just hit on the Chief of Naval Operations. I didn't hit on her. Jake stopped. Did I hit on her? You absolutely did. And she demolished you without raising her voice. Marcus started laughing. This is going in the team history. Morrison's greatest takedown, by a 4-star in khakis. Jake put his head in his hands. My career is over. Nah, she gave you a chance to learn. But bro, next time someone's sitting alone, reading quietly, not engaging with your war stories, maybe consider they outrank you by about 40 levels. Jake looked at where Admiral Chen had been sitting. She'd left her napkin folded precisely, her tray organized, her chair pushed in properly. Even in civilian clothes, eating lunch alone, she'd maintained standards. He'd been so busy performing, so convinced of his own importance, he'd completely missed who she actually was. That night, Jake wrote a formal apology letter. 3 weeks later, he received a response. Lieutenant Morrison, apology accepted. Your humility in that moment showed more character than your arrogance before it. Remember, true leadership isn't about making others feel small so you feel big. It's about lifting others up regardless of their rank or appearance. Your BUDS training taught you to be tough. Now learn to be wise. Fair winds and following seas. Admiral Rebecca Chen, Chief of Naval Operations. Jake framed that letter. And he never again assumed anything about anyone based on their clothes, their age, their gender, or their silence. Because sometimes the most powerful person in the room is the one sitting quietly, learning who shows respect and who just performs it. And sometimes a 4-star admiral in khakis teaches you more in 5 minutes than 8 years of training ever could.